Welcome to Indoor Plant Science channel. Have you ever bought a beautiful indoor plant, brought it home, found the perfect spot for it, water it carefully, and then a few months later watch it slowly decline? Yellow leaves, weak growth, root rot, fungus gnats, or a plant that simply refused to thrive. Most people assume they are watering incorrectly. Others think they need more fertilizer. But in many cases, the real problem is hiding below the surface, the growing medium. Today, I am going to show you how I build a professional indoor plant substrate that is clean, lightweight, well-draining, long-lasting, and ideal for many of the most popular indoor plants used in homes and offices. And if you are interested in indoor plant science, air-purifying plants, healthier homes, healthier offices, and science-based care, make sure you hit the subscribe and give the video a like because that's exactly what we will exploring on this channel. Before we even talk about ingredients, I want to mention something that surprises many people. Building your own professional potting mix is often significantly cheaper than buying premium ready-made specialty potting mixes. In larger quantities, you can often produce a higher quality growing medium for less money. You also have complete control over the ingredients. For today's project, I stopped by Bunnings and picked up Pinegro 30-liter Coco Peat ready to use. This wasn't actually the first Coco product I purchased. My first purchase was a Brunnings Coco Coir product, and that purchase ended up sending me down a rabbit hole searching Coco Coir quality standards. No, I want to be fair here. Brunnings is a popular product and many people use it successfully. But when I started examining the packaging more closely, I couldn't find clear information regarding buffering, low EC values, calcium magnesium enrichment, or RHP certification. That doesn't automatically mean it's a bad product. But when I'm building a professional indoor plant substrate, I like to see those quality indicators clearly stated, especially when the growing medium is going to be the foundation of everything that happens above the soil line. That's when I started researching what actually separates premium Coco Coir from average Coco Coir, and what I discovered completely changed the way I buy growing media. Another reason I like coco-based substrates is cleanliness. One thing many people never think about is what they are actually bringing into their homes. Many traditional potting mixes contain composted materials from multiple sources. Depending on how they are produced and stored, they may contain weed seeds, fungus gnats eggs, insect larvae, inconsistent organic matter, or unpleasant odors. In fact, poor quality Coco Coir can create serious problems. So how do you identify a good one? The first thing I look for is buffering. Look for terms such as buffered, pre-buffered, or enriched with calcium or magnesium. Why does this matter? Raw Coco Coir naturally contains sodium or potassium. Without proper buffering, those elements can interfere with the nutrient availability around plants' roots. The result can be nutrient deficiencies, yellow leaves, poor growth, and weak root systems. The second thing look for is washing. Look for labels such as low EC, wash, or triple washed. EC stands for electrical conductivity. In simple terms, it's an indication of dissolved salts. The third thing I look for is certification. One of the most respected certifications in the substrate industry is RHP certification. RHP certification helps verify substrate consistency, cleanliness, stability, and quality control. For viewers in Australia, Pinegro ready-to-use coco peat is a very practical choice. It's affordable, is easy to find, and is already expanded and ready to use. You don't need to soak it, you don't need to hydrate it, compressed bricks. You simply open the bag and start mixing. The other thing that immediately caught my attention was the statement on the packaging, enriched with the calcium and magnesium. For me, that's a positive sign because it suggests additional processing to improve suitability for plant roots. The rich dark brown color of the material was another encouraging sign. Combined with the ready-to-use format, it made it an easy choice for this project. To make things easier, I have included a link to my recommended cocoa products for both Australia and United States in the video description below. Once you have purchased a cocoa product, there are a few simple checks you can perform after opening the bag. A quality cocoa coir should have a rich dark brown appearance. It should smell earthy and natural, almost like a forest floor after rain. The texture should feel fluffy and fibrous, not muddy, not slimy, not sticky. Know that we have covered why I use cocoa coir, how to identify a quality product, and what separates premium cocoa substrate from average ones. It's time to build the mix. But before we start combining ingredients, let's talk about the two materials that transform cocoa coir from a good growing medium into a professional growing medium: pumice and perlite. Those two ingredients play a huge role in root health. And healthy roots are the foundation of healthy plants. One of the biggest misconceptions in indoor plant care is that roots simply need water. In reality, roots need both water and oxygen. When a growing medium stays too wet for too long, air spaces disappear. Oxygen levels around the roots decrease. Beneficial root activity slows down, and harmful conditions that encourage root rot begin to develop. This is one reason so many indoor plants struggle in heavy potting mixes. Medium simply holds too much water and not enough air. Our goal is different. We want a substrate that can retain moisture while still maintaining excellent airflow around the root system. That's exactly what pumice and perlite help us achieve. First ingredient we are adding is pumice. Pumice is a naturally occurring volcanic rock filled with tiny air pockets. It's lightweight, highly durable, and incredibly useful in indoor plant substrates. One of the reasons I prefer pumice is that it improves draining while maintaining excellent structure over many years. Unlike some organic materials that gradually break down and compact, pumice remains stable. That means the air spaces around roots remain available much longer. For indoor plants that may stay in the same pot for several years, that's a major advantage. Pumice also adds weight and stability to containers. If you have ever had a tall indoor plant become top-heavy and unstable, we will appreciate this benefit. For larger plants such as Kentia Palm, golden cane palms, Fiddle Leaf Figs, and mature peace lilies, pumice helps create a more stable root environment. Second ingredient is perlite. Perlite is a heat-expanded volcanic material that is extremely light-weighted and porous. Its primary role is increasing aeration. The more air spaces we maintain within the substrate, the easier it becomes for roots to access oxygen. And healthy roots require oxygen every day. One thing many people don't realize is that not all perlite is the same. You will often find both fine grade and coarse grade perlite. And the difference is important. Fine perlite contains smaller particles, coarse perlite contains much larger particles. Both can improve drainage, but coarse perlite creates larger air channels within the root zone. Those larger air spaces significantly improve oxygen movement throughout the substrate. For most indoor plants, especially plants that are sensitive to overwatering, I generally prefer coarse perlite whenever it's available. Now that we have covered physical structure, let's talk about nutrition. One of the biggest advantages of Coco Coir is that it's clean and predictable, but one of its limitations is that it contains very little nutrition. Unlike compost-rich potting soils, Coco Coir contributes very few nutrients to plant growth. That means we need to provide nutrition ourselves. And for indoor plants, one of my favorite approaches is using slow-release fertilizers. Slow-release fertilizers gradually release nutrients over many months. This creates a more consistent nutrient supply while reducing maintenance. Instead of remembering liquid fertilizer schedules every few weeks, the nutrients are already incorporated into the growing medium. For today's project, I'm using Osmocote products that are widely available at Bunnings. You may notice there are several different formulations available, so let's quickly look at the most common option, Osmocote Blue. The Blue Osmocote formulation is primarily designed for flowering and fruiting plants. If your primary goal is producing flowers, blooms, or ornamental displays, this can be a useful choice. For example, flowering annual, seasonal color displays, or ornamental flowering plants can benefit from this formulation. For foliage-focused indoor plants, however, is usually not my first choice. The red Osmocote formulation is a general-purpose fertilizer. It's suitable for a wide range of garden plants, container plants, and landscape application. If you are especially growing indoor foliage plants, the gray IndoorPlants formulation is generally the product I recommend. This formulation is designed especially for houseplants and indoor growing conditions. For plants such as peace lily, snake plant, ZZ plant, Aglaonema, Philodendron, Kentia Palm, golden cane palm, lady palm, Fiddle Leaf Fig, and many other foliage-focused indoor species, the gray formulation would normally be my first recommendation. As a general guideline, I recommend approximately 3 to 5 grams of Osmocote per liter of growing medium. That's roughly equivalent to about 1 level teaspoon per liter. Always follow the manufacturer recommendations and avoid over-applying fertilizer. Fertilizer does not necessarily mean faster growth. In many cases, excessive fertilizer can create unnecessary stress around the root system. A moderate and consistent nutrient supply is usually the best approach. Now we have everything we need, or Coco Coir, or Pumice, or Perlite, and or slow-release fertilizer. For most indoor foliage plants and air-purifying plants, my professional base recipe is very simple. 50% Coco Coir, 30% Pumice, 20% Perlite. They incorporate your slow-release fertilizer evenly throughout the substrate. As I am mixing these ingredients together, pay attention to the texture. The finished substrate feels light, open, airy, and incredibly easy to work with. When you squeeze it lightly, it holds together briefly before falling apart again. That's exactly what we want. Good moisture retention, excellent drainage, and plenty of oxygen around the roots. This balance is what makes the difference between plants that simply survive and plants that truly thrive. Healthy root system leads to healthier foliage. Healthier foliage leads to a better plant performance, and better plant performance means a more attractive indoor environment, which is exactly what we are trying to achieve. Mix is only the foundation. Different plants have different requirements. A peace lily prefers something different from a snake plant. A ZZ plant behaves differently from a Kentia Palm, and a Fiddle Leaf Fig has a different root performance than an Aglaonema. In the next video, I will show you how I customize this exact base recipe for a specific plant species. We will create dedicated mixes for many of the most popular indoor and air purifying plants. We will also discuss watering strategies, fertilization programs, and species-specific root zone management. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. Thank you for watching and enjoy.